Video game movies. Movies about video games. They all seem to kind of be failures. Although in more recent times, especially with Sonic, who would have thought Sonic would be the successful one? Video game movies have become a much more viable thing. The long-awaited Uncharted movie has finally had its first teaser trailer revealed to the world, and I actually kind of liked it. Spoiler alert for the rest of this video, but the rest of the internet seemed to be burning down when this trailer came out, and people did not like what it represented or what it meant, I guess. So I thought I'd make a video talking about the Uncharted movie and what it kind of means and what it means to me, especially as an Uncharted fan. And yeah, I'm an Uncharted fan. I got a Nathan Drake boy right up here. Not only that, I've played all the Uncharted games. I really enjoy the Uncharted games and that franchise, and I still see a world where a movie and the video game series can live alongside each other, albeit maybe the rest of the internet doesn't. Rewind for anyone who's not aware. Over the last decade, I think, there have been rumors and speculation and leaks and things about an Uncharted film being in production. It's been started and stopped and started and stopped so many times that I just assumed it wasn't happening. Over the last sort of 12 or 18 months, PlayStation have made a really massive effort to get into film and television production. After, I guess, the unsuccessful launch of the Ratchet & Clank movie, they've now greenlit a film based on Uncharted and Twisted Metal, a television show based on The Last of Us, which I also never thought would ever happen. So they're really getting into this space and over-investing in it in terms of producing really high quality content. Well, the trailer dropped for Uncharted, starring Tom Holland, you know, Sony's poster boy, Spider-Man, the spider who is a man himself. And I kind of like Tom Holland. I know people are like lukewarm on Tom Holland. I'm a fan of Tom Holland. I like his Spider-Man. He's a pretty cool Spider-Man. And believe it or not, the guy who actually was going to be playing Nathan Drake originally when they started these conversations, Mark Wahlberg, who's now playing Sully. So Tom Holland is playing a young Nathan Drake, and Mark Wahlberg is playing, I guess, a young Sully. Is he not quite old enough to be the Sully from the games? And I think that's what a lot of people's problems is. So in the trailer, spoiler alerts for the trailer, and in fact, if you don't want to know anything about the Uncharted movie, stop watching at this point. I appreciate you watching, and maybe just mute it if you want to continue to support me, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the trailer, so there is going to be spoilers for that there. Obviously, I haven't seen the film, so no spoilers for the movie or anything like that, but we're going to talk about the trailer now. So there are things that happen in the trailer, and I'll namely talk about one specific thing, I suppose, or maybe a couple of them. But the big one being the airplane parachuting scene that happens towards the end of the trailer. A lot of people are upset because this is actually a scene or a set piece, or the big set piece from Uncharted 3, yet this film is supposed to take place when Nathan Drake is younger, and a younger Nate is the protagonist of the film. The internet has been very upset with this point and how the movie is taking, I guess, there's a few other components in there as well around how the movie is taking elements from, you know, Nate and his brother's relationship, Nate and Sully's relationship, and future Nate events, including, you know, characters like Chloe and things like that in it that Nate meets later in the series, or that Drake meets later in the series, versus when he's an actual kid. And people seem to have a problem with that. Now, I can kind of get it. From a gamer's perspective, I understand people wanting to keep the sanctity of the Uncharted franchise, but I think if you were just to do that, it would make a really boring film, honestly. Like, they're either going to have to dive into an area where they're creating this completely new standalone story and plot, which has nothing to do with the games, and just carries its name and characters, and kind of loosely around Sir Francis Drake and Nathan Drake and things like that, or they go down the route of taking and taking things from the games, story beats or action set pieces from the games, and using them in the film to create something much more spectacular. And that seems like it's what they've done. They've taken the best components, probably from Uncharted 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then they've added their own sort of narrative to it and created this, which is the Uncharted movie. I don't even know if it has a semicolon with something else on it, but it's the Uncharted movie. And honestly, I think it's okay. I think this is going to be a fun action movie. Do I think it's going to be great? Probably not, but a lot of action movies are pretty bad. If we're being really honest with ourselves, a lot of action films are really just popcorn flicks. You go in there, you sit there, you're wowed by the spectacle of it, and you enjoy the 60 or 90 minutes that you're sitting in the cinema watching it. And I think that's exactly what this is going to be. I think it's got really competent leading actors. I think the world, or like action adventurer, treasure hunter, is ripe to make a good film about. I mean, Indiana Jones is one of the most successful films in that genre. This obviously won't be as good as that, but it's ripe for the picking. There's definitely plenty of potential there. Speaking of which, I don't know why there wasn't just another Indiana Jones. I feel like that probably would have been easier than making Uncharted. It's here nor there. It's neither. I don't know. The viability of why they made this is a completely different conversation. It exists now, so that's what we're talking about. But I still think it can sit alongside the games. You've got your gaming universe, and then you've got your film or cinematic universe as well. They're two very separate things, very similar to how, I guess, Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a different Spider-Man to the one in the PlayStation Marvel game verse, and vice versa. I think this film actually does have a lot of potential. I think it could be really cool. Now, to combat like the biggest criticism, which is taking plot points from multiple games, even though you're using a younger version of Drake versus the one from the games and things like that, I just want to say, think of how boring of a film it could be if you take out all the gameplay of Uncharted and you just have the cinematics, the movies, and they try and translate that into a cohesive story. I just don't think it's there. As much as I really did enjoy the story of Uncharted, I think it's a fantastic gaming franchise. It's got some really, really industry-leading components to it as well. I don't think that the story stacks up in terms of a narrative for a film or a television series. As much as I would love for it to, I just don't believe that it does. Don't come attacking me. I'm not saying the Uncharted story is bad. I'm just saying if you translate a video game story to a film, as we've seen a lot of studios do in the past, it just doesn't always translate very well because you're missing a lot of the nuances with gameplay and conversations that you're having along the player's journey and development through the gameplay and the actual act of playing the game versus just telling a narrative. And that's why a lot of that stuff is lost. So I think you do have to do quite a fair bit of adaptation, taking even a very narrative-driven game like Uncharted into cinema versus game. And I think that's why they've done what they've done. They've taken a lot of inspiration from some of the greatest hits of Uncharted, probably crammed everything in here given they won't be expecting to get a sequel greenlit off the back of this, probably thinking this is it. Let's just make it everything. Let's chuck everything in here. Let's make it as good as we can. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, but I am excited about it. I think there's potential here. And look, I just wanted to make a video championing this thing because a lot of people on the internet are really bombing this thing and criticizing it hard, especially PlayStation fans. And I'm sure there's some of you watching. There are some very aggressive and opinionated PlayStation fans. I mean, I guess that's technically the entire definition of what I'm doing right now, so. But I'm excited for this film. Are you guys excited for the Uncharted film? I'm really curious to get everyone's thoughts in the comments down below and have a really good conversation about film versus games and how film translates to games and how good this could be or how much of a dumpster fire it could also be. Let's see. And I think I'll even do a review of this movie when it finally does come out because I am kind of interested to see how this translates and what it could actually end up being. Anyway, that is all from me. I am really curious to have a conversation with you all in the comment section down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Uncharted trailer that has been playing over the entirety of this video. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. If you haven't given it a like by this point, if I haven't won you over, I guess I don't deserve it, but I would appreciate it if you gave me the like anyway. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Happy New Year, everybody, especially to my Patreons and channel members. Thank you to each and every one of you fine folks for helping to keep this channel's lights running. 2022 is going to be an exciting year. I cannot wait to show you what we have in store for this channel. Thank you to everyone over here on the side of me to helping to support the channel and to keep the channel going. If you too want to help support the channel like these fine folks over here, you can do so by hitting the Patreon link in the description down below. And as little as $1 per month can help this channel out enormously. Alternatively, if you want to become a channel member, you can do the membership button that's just below this video. You get cool things next to your name. You get to use different emotes in chat. It's a whole thing. Either way, I really appreciate you. Thank you all so much. And trust me, 2022 is gonna be a good one. All right.